Hi guys. So this is a very important another particular section. It is a really core, what we can call is a core part of this interview process that is called as interview scheduling. So follow up and the interview schedule is a very important concept what we call is, and follow up you need each and every process, each and every place when you do the onboarding, when you do the client onboarding, when you are chasing for a business development, when you are basically connecting to a particular candidate. So you should be very much strong into follow up, and you should have a very strong, you should be in very patient, you should have a good patience when you have a particularly connecting with the candidate. Don't get frustrated, because when you are connecting, especially in the current scenario, when you are going for an IT hiring especially, so there are many people, each and every candidate is, they are getting at least for 10 to 15 or 20 calls in a day for from the different vendors, from the different companies, so many places. And as there is a, because it's remote working is there, so people are giving that particular interview from the different places, right? So everybody is getting engaged. So how you are connecting, sometimes they will not, once they will pick up your phone, after that they will not stop picking up your call. Maybe they are in some interview, they are into any other production issues, so many other places. So generally in entry level people, maybe sometimes people don't respond very professionally, they don't give a proper answers also. So you should have a very good patience, right? So when they are, sometimes people are not, without any speaking they cut your call. Maybe also people are, when they are, you are connecting with them, they will not pick up, or maybe in between they cancel it or something like that. Many other things will happen here. So you should have a very good patience, even though so many cancellation you will feel in during the interview process. You schedule, people will cancel it because of some personal issues, maybe because of some their company assignment, or maybe ad hoc you can say assignment, where they get suddenly they got manager call and to do or fix up any production issues, or maybe they got some other interview calls, some other companies like that. So in that case you should have a very good, so patience is a basically key point when we talk about the follow. So you should have a basically into a, because in during, let's say if you are just scheduling an interview, they given a 2 round of interview, after third round, in third round interview they'll maybe not interested, or maybe because of some, they start picking up your, they don't pick up your call, or they don't respond on email or text message or WhatsApp message. In that case, basically you need to be in continuously in touch with the candidates. Okay, how you are building the, basically that is the same thing we have already discussed, relationship management. With relationship is basically very important key point, either if you are talking about, you can say client, or if you are talking about with the candidate, right? So you should have, you should gain that confidence or maybe faith basically, right? That is a very important concept here. So interview scheduling is basically, we already know that the cycle, right? Whenever you will get the requirement, you will basically start processing a resume. Once this resume is got shortlisted and client is giving some slot here, so first thing you need to understand that basically when the client is giving some slot, so you need to be very much sure about that interview schedule from the client side. Okay, and then you will, then after you can start connecting with the candidates, right? If the client is saying you can fix any particular time between 12 to 4, then you have a, it's a very open, so you can schedule any point of time. But if it is a very fixed time they are giving, then you need to be very much sure about, and you need to convince to a particular candidate also to for attend for 30 or 45 minutes. Generally the interview time is majorly for 30 to 45 minutes. So basically you need to work. So interview scheduling is not a single task, but a long process wherein the recruit run around to get the list of interviewers and panel members from the hiring managers, discuss the interview slots with their interview, fix the venue, schedule the interview, and finally notify the busy candidates. So this is a basically, if you are connecting with, let's say multiple interviewers, or maybe there is a basically account managers generally in big companies, so they basically, you need to connect with account manager, then or maybe the HR team from the client. This HR team will basically assign any particular interviewer on a particular given time, correct? So you need to be very much connected with, so there should not be any communication gap, right? You and basically in between HR and the candidate. So if HR is saying you have to schedule in 3 o'clock, you are not connected to a particular candidate, and suddenly you are calling on the same day. So in that case, there is a less chance that particular person or candidate will go for an interview. So you have to inform basically. So this is process is not like that. Interview schedule, you have to schedule a multiple round of interviews. Generally, each and every company, even though entry level hiring also, you will have a multiple rounds of an interview. So in that case, you should be very much comfortable to schedule an interview, very much comfortable to connect with the candidates. You should be very much comfortable to, maybe when you are connecting, disconnecting a call, they are saying no or all these things, right? So in that case, don't get frustrated, right? This is a basically main problem where this majorly recruiters got frustrated. So in that case, you don't frustrate it because of these particular things. You should be very much comfortable and you should accept that reality. Because it's like that when you are going for, let's say, any insurance company and the person is selling an insurance, most of the people will, somebody will take an interest, somebody will not take an interest, somebody will take an interest but they will not buy. So many things happens. In the same way, interviews also is in the recruitment industry also the same thing will happen. So you need to be very much comfortable, right? So in that case, basically, you should, whenever you got the slot, right, so you should have a very fair communication between your interviewers, or if you are not connected with directly with interviewer, then if you are connected with your HR team, your client's HR team, then you should get proper slots and you should be constant in communication. Sometimes interviewer are also cancelled because of they got some other meeting assignments like that, so immediately you should cancel that and you should inform to a particular person, correct, or candidates, because candidates are also busy, right? Entry level candidate also, they have some different, you can say, roles and responsibility for personal and other things. So in that case, you should be very much, you should inform to in 1 day early or maybe 3 days early prior to an interview. So in 3 days prior to interview, if you will just, so that they can also plan, then we need to give some reminders. Okay, so reminders are, let's say if somebody is inviting you for particularly an event, right? So if they inform to 3 days, so basically if let's say you are in place of that particular candidate, if you are going for any event, so they basically, if you will go for a marriage, people give the invitation to you. After that, they will give a call or maybe they send some person to invite to you, right? So that you will on the day also, right? So that you will be invited here, something like that. You need to just think like this. If you are inviting to that person, how you will give the reminders. So that reminder concept is basically, then there is a concept, what are the different tools and technologies you can use for a schedule, and different tools and technology you can go for and reminders. So there is a many tools you can use it. You can use text message, you can use it, you can use a WhatsApp. People are using WhatsApp very clearly, right? You can use emails. Emails is a basically professional communication. You have to have an email set up properly for reminders and for interview schedules and everything, right? It has to basically, so that you can also tell to a particular, sometimes clients are saying if candidates is not appearing in an interview, or maybe without any reason cancelled it, then they don't go and give the chance for an interview again the next time into same candidate. Because this is a very important time. If particular candidate is canceling the interview 2 times, then particular candidature or the resume is dropped from the client side. So make sure that it should not happen, otherwise you will lose the candidate, and that is also making a bad impression on you, right? So that interview cancellation, you should not, basically make sure that there is a lesser and lesser that interview cancellations, right? So that is basically the thing, is that in that case, when you are scheduling an interview, you have to do so many cross questions with the particular candidate. Cross questions means, what is the different timing, how he is managing, if in a day, working day, he is appearing for an interview, how he managed that 30 35 minutes, right? Then is that any other schedule, especially if you are lunchtime, if you schedule, that is good. Or maybe in 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you can schedule it, 11 o'clock you can schedule, where basically there is a no meeting time, or maybe there is a no such highly productive work kind of. So that kind of a timing you can choose it, that is little better. If that particular interviewer or maybe client is giving a time, then you need to ask to a particular candidate, and you need to get that confirmation 2 times, so that basically you can immediately find out this person will, that is a basically, you need to read the mind for a particular candidate. Is he or she will be appearing into interview or not, and why he is appearing. So that is also very important. So when you are checking the interest for a particular candidate, at the same time you also need to understand, is this person is how much, what is the interest level into a company for the profile, right? Apart from compensation, what are the other things he is looking for? Is this matching or not? Because everybody in the first call, everybody will say yes, I am interested, but after that maybe most of the people, they drop that particular interview or they will not appear. So this, the reason is either they are not feeling very confident for the companies, or maybe they are not very comfortable with the position, or maybe compensation, or maybe some other things like that. So you need to find out what he or she is looking for apart from the compensation. Compensation is also, if you got the band for particular interview schedule, let's say if client is ready to pay only 18 lakhs, so don't send that particular profile. Sometimes people in initial call, the candidate will say yes, I am okay with the 18, but suddenly they start expecting 22, 24, or maybe higher budget here. So there is no meaning to process this kind of, because if you will schedule an interview, interviewer or maybe client will take the interview, and after that they are expecting little higher side, so in that case it is also making a bad impression, right? So you need to thoroughly, you can say, check the interest and all the expectation from the candidate as well, so your interview will go very smooth. These things are an interview scheduling. Basically always you need to schedule at least double candidates, so that if one guy is already dropped it, then immediately another person can be available, correct? So that is a basically another point is, so always you should, you can say, if there is a, let's say you got one slot, you should schedule or maybe check the interest for two people at least. So one should be confirmed and another you can just put, you can say, on the backup side, so that is one person is got dropped, immediately you can ask for somebody else so that he can appear, so that that client's interviewer time will not got wasted, right? Otherwise, some most of the time this HR people will give this interview slot to some other vendor, so they will get and use this opportunity. And if you will do these things 4 5 times, immediately then HR will say we will not give any interview schedule, because you are not giving any particular reasonable candidates, correct? So these things you need to check, so you need to be thoroughly connected. There are some standard set of questions you need to check to a candidate when basically asking for an interview, right? If you really got that correct details and correct expectations from the candidate, then there is a higher chances he or she will attend the interview. Okay, so this is a basically very important point when we talk about that particular follow-up. So follow-up, as I told you, that once you get that schedule, immediately you can, if you got the schedule one day prior to an interview, immediately you can inform these candidates, and you can send that, if they send that confirmation, you can send that particular email notification with the particular, if it is on the physical location, you send the venue details and all these details and timing. If it is an online, you can send that meeting invites and all these things into a mail immediately. Then you should send some reminder mails, that is called as a follow-up. So reminder mails in the evening, also in the morning on the interview day, and also before the half an hour before the interview starts. And also you need to connect to a person before 5 minutes, so that he or she can be available before 5 minutes also. So because in the morning that candidate is basically saying I am available, suddenly he is not agree, or maybe involve some other work in it, or maybe some other interview has been scheduled, or he forget it. So many people are giving 5 interviews, 6 interviews in a day, they suddenly forget about your interview. So you need to give a one day prior also, then on the same day in the morning, then you need to half an hour before half an hour of the interview, and then 5 minutes before the interview. So this is a basically kind of a follow-up. So at least three you should give. And also before, whenever, let's say if you got the interview slot and you got the confirmation from the candidate also 3 days back, in that case basically you need to inform them. So what is happening here in that case, you just send that invitations and email like this. So for that purpose you can use a calendar, is one of the finest tool you can use it, where you can schedule that and you can have a multiple follow-ups mail automatically can get for a notification. You don't need to send an email and notification, because otherwise you need to send a notification for an interview or to a person again and again. Generally you need to take this follow-up to the candidate. The same process will go again and again for multiple different round and interviews as well. So whenever you schedule an interview, you need to check the person, and basically this is the way basically you need to schedule it. If you are going for online, so there is a basically in online here there is, you can also breakout rooms, you can just use it. So breakout room, if you will just see here into a breakout room in Zoom, there is a concept of a breakout room. So you can just click on the more, and you can see into a Zoom meeting there is a breakout room. So you can create a breakout room, and you can ask the person will join the breakout room, and that interview will also join, connect into breakout rooms. So breakout room you can use it. That same thing will also go for event management. Let's say if you have 10 people you are scheduling an interview at the same time, so you need to create a 10 breakout rooms into an particularly in Zoom. So that is very effective. Another thing is that if you just got a slot and they are just taking an interview on the Skype or maybe any other places. Last time one of the client is saying we wanted to take an interview only on Skype. Most of the candidates they don't have a Skype ID. So how you will convince to a candidate, can you just create a Skype ID? It just take a 5 minutes. Most of the people don't use the Skype. So that one thing the client is also want to check if the person is genuine and really interested, that candidate will create a Skype ID in 5 minutes and will be appearing. Correct. If that person is not creating a Skype ID for just 5 minutes for this position, then what is the basically surety that person will appear in an interview and that person will join that particular company? So these kind of a situation also you will face. Most of the candidates got dropped because they don't wanted to create a Skype ID. That is a very genuine scenario, but from the client side it is really very effective because they wanted to check the personal interest from the candidate itself. So that is also you need to understand. So follow up in that case, you need can send any type of mail and any other things. Then if you will see, this is a working closely with hiring team. Already we have seek a convenience time slot suggestion for an interview from the right interviews from the interview in advance, so that you will have a proper timing. If you will get just interview schedule today itself and suddenly they are calling, so it is a there is a lesser chances people will appear. Or maybe if you have already shortlisted candidates, they are already ready to give an interview, then you can pick up them and then you can. So you need to have some pool of candidates also in advance who can give an interview, so that if you will get suddenly the slot, immediately you can ask the candidate and they can join here. Okay, ask them if you can book the job interview schedules on their calendar, so you can send the calendar invites also. So that so when you send a mail, you need to send the calendar invites also you can send it, so they can save, so it will be pop up, right? So maybe any calendar, if they will save into a Google Calendar or any other place, so you will get, right? Give them heads up on the Java interview schedule as soon as you have. So as I already told you, right? So you need to send an email. Also, you need to send a particularly what we can call as uh, mail and call. So reminder, basically you need to give basically on the calls. Don't WhatsApp, you can just give, but on the interview day you need to give. Bulk hiring, you won't be able to give a completely calls each and every candidates, right? So you need to use a different mechanism for giving the reminders, mails, WhatsApp messages, like that. But if you are just going for, you can say kind of an average hiring like this, where you have 5-10 candidates, 4 candidates, in that case you can use personal calls. It is really effective. Correct. Because bulk hiring, it is little difficult to chase to everybody like this. So what tools do you use it to schedule an interview instead of? So you can use the emails, phone calls. Phone calls are highly effective. Emails are people are using employee calendars, text message, right? Spreadsheets, paper and pen notes. These things are basically in online, people don't use it, but emails, phone calls, text messages, WhatsApp messages are really very effective for sending an emails, invites and everything. So you can use WhatsApp is basically very powerful concept. So you can send the WhatsApp. Now each and every candidate you cannot save the number, so you can use that WhatsApp web, so that unknown number also you can send it, right? Or maybe some other tools you can use it through, or which you can send that invites and all these things. Correct. Calendly is one of the powerful tool. You can just look for a Calendly, and you can just use for some free version of a Calendly where you can send the follow-up emails and all these things. So Calendly, you can use it. All other things that is I have already told you. Or maybe if you can use any other email software, CRM softwares also you can use it, like Zoho CRM, you can use it if you wanted to send some follow-up emails. So in Zoho CRM also, you can use some of other you can plug the call also, you can plug that WhatsApp message also. So CRM tools, you can use it, it is really making impact. Then you can, so 65 candidates, they make that particularly the perception of a company based on a basically a particularly that interview, how you are processing an interview and all these things.